me. Hi.
I'm Joanna. It's me.
Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Hi.
Hi, problem. My
Hi.
name's Joanna.
Dad? I'm also confused about where my head is at. I'm Christina. Hello and welcome to How We Live Online. This is season 3. What's it called, Joanna?
Selfie season.
That's not the name.
I know, but I'm actually blanking on what it is.
It's called Self Seekers.
Yeah, self seekers. I know it, but I just keep calling it the selfie season. I don't know. The title I came up with is alliterative.
Okay, whatever. So is mine.
Yeah. I don't know. Self seekers too has the slant.
Self seekers. Yes.
I know my rhymes.
All right. Hello and welcome to How We Live Online. This is season 3, Self Seekers. So, Joanna and I had a fun episode last week in which we detailed the insanity that was my cat getting out. Guess who has been avoiding the back door for the past however many days?
Really?
Yes. She's running away from it, actually.
Wow.
She's not coming up to the door when I come up to the door, which she used to come greet me that way. I will say she was like crying next to it when I was hanging out on the porch alone. I wasn't alone. I don't know why I said I was alone. That was a lie. I was with 2 people. But I guess I meant alone like without her. So, yeah. So, but yeah, that's the update on her. She's not looking to run away again soon, to my knowledge.
And she might be traumatized, it sounds like.
I am. I'm certainly traumatized, so she probably is too, because she spent all fucking day hiding in a disgusting, terrifying garage. She's insane. Whatever. That's that. So far, this season, we've talked about personal health data via the Apple Watch. Of course, we've talked about my cat at length. We've talked about skincare routines as the modern spiritual ritual and the infiltration of grays on our domestic spaces. And today we're going to talk about beauty standards online, particularly ratios of beauty like the golden ratio and the Kibbe body types. This is right now, I'm going to say, if you're not in the space of talking and hearing about bodies, pause this. Maybe come back to it at another time. So, Joanna, have you heard of the golden ratio?
Yeah, I have.
What is it to you?
Quiz. Bunch of rectangles.
Kind of, yes.
Rectangles that make a spiral. I know the golden ratio. I couldn't tell you what the number is exactly, but I know it's something that people say that we see in nature a lot. Like is it mathematically derived, or is it just something we see in nature mostly? It's one of those.
I think both.
It's both of those.
I don't know. I'm really using my eyebrows today. You couldn't see everybody, but I just did a big eyebrow question mark. I put both of my eyebrows into the shape of a question mark.
Christina has famous eyebrows.
Yeah.
And she can do a lot with them.
We will not be covering that today. Okay. I can pick things up with them.
Christina's eyebrows fit the golden ratio, you could say.
I wanted to, if I had any storage on my phone, to download TikTok and use the golden ratio filter.
Is there a filter for that?
Of course there is.
I would like to say to the people, I'm going to be showing my ignorance this episode. I feel more than any other episode, this one will give you a clue into how not online I am. I don't know. That's just my perception. I have no idea what we're going to talk about all the way, but.
All the way. Have you heard of the Kibbe body types?
I have heard of that.
Really? I'm surprised by that. In what context?
I've heard commentary on how bad they are. Cool. But I also like I'll say what I know when we get to it maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll just say that I've heard that they are weird.
Weird? Yes. Weird. So before we talk about the Kibbe body types, I want to talk about the golden ratio. That's also how we've looked at faces before in ancient times, and then also how we're looking at faces now, which is called the Instagram face. I don't know if this phrase Instagram face belongs to Colby Smith, the celebrity makeup artist who was in the Gia Tolentino essay called Instagram face, or if it's just like something that was floating around. But a famous-ish quote about it comes from Colby Smith, this celebrity makeup artist, in Gia Tolentino's essay from a few years ago about cosmetic surgery and Instagram. And Smith says, it's Instagram face. It's like an unrealistic sculpture, volume on volume, a face that looks like it's made out of clay. He also says, specifically, we're talking an overly tan skin tone, a South Asian influence with the brows and eye shape, and African American influence with the lips, a Caucasian influence with the nose, a cheek structure that is predominantly Native American and Middle Eastern. And then I have this image to show Joanna of I need to know if you know who this person is, and I will say her name momentarily.
Christina is showing me a photo of myself. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea who that is.
Okay. Would you say that she has Instagram face based on what I just said?
Yeah, I would say she looks like a Bratz doll.
Yeah, Bratz doll is a great way to describe Instagram face. This is do you want to know who it is?
No, you can tell me. Tell me.
Okay, it's Francesca Farrago. She is the main villain in Too Hot to Handle, one of the first seasons of it, and she has been on a bunch of the Netflix reality shows. She has like 6 million Instagram followers.
Is her necklace a piece of bread and a butter?
I think it looks more like 2 gold pendants that are rectangles.
It's not a piece of bread and a pat of butter.
It's not a slice of bread on this Instagram model's necklace. No, Joanna.
Okay. She's cute.
She's cute. She looks exactly like both of us. And she is Italian. American. Okay. And she loves saying that she's Italian. As we all do. As all of us Italians. Me, I'm Italian. My mom. Anyway. So that's Instagram face. And I think she's a great person to demonstrate it. So I wanted to show Joanna. We are wondering, over time, how have we been able to assess beauty? Because beauty is fickle and also it changes based on plenty of stuff. And one of the mathematical ways, because beauty is in the eye of the beholder, there have been a lot of ways that we try to understand beauty. One of them being the golden ratio, which is also the Fibonacci sequence, or the number.
That's what it is.
Yes. Genius. Or the number phi, which was, I guess, founded in Euclid's, some philosopher, mathematician, geometry man in 300 BCE. He wrote about it and he was like, this is the golden ratio. And that ratio is 1.618 is the ratio. And it started off with phi / the Fibonacci sequence, then it became the golden proportion way later in like 1509 from the Italian mathematician Luca Pacioli, his book that translates to the divine proportion. So we have the golden ratio, which is 1.618, the Fibonacci sequence, which is 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, which gradually approaches 1.618 as the ratio between each of those numbers. This ratio is not equal to, but it definitely informs things like photography's rule of thirds. It's a way to map and place the ratio of objects in space. Many of us may recall seeing that kind of seashell-shaped image put on top of a seashell, or put on top of, famously, the Mona Lisa, or other people's faces. It's present in like different bugs and like sunflowers and stuff. So it's a naturally occurring ratio. Oh, pine cones. I remember pine cones being a big part of this in my elementary understanding of it.
Interesting.
So, of course, there are filters that will put your face into that
Why, of
ratio.
course?
Huh?
Why, of course?
Why, of course.
Yeah.
Joanna, of course they're on her. Because we all want to be pretty. And also, it hilariously does stuff that is now a little bit contradictory to Instagram face. The proportions have certainly changed. Okay, so I am now going to show Joanna an image of a celebrity's normal face and then a celebrity's golden ratio face. Are you ready?
Okay. Oh, wow. The golden ratio is on the right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I saw Velociraptor. We're looking at Kim Kardashian. I don't know on the right, like she looks like she could be the Jurassic Park Velociraptors. I don't know what that is. Huh, that's interesting. It does look.
What are the differences between Kim Kardashian's red carpet face and Kim Kardashian's the same image with her Fibonacci sequence face?
The biggest differences are that her lips are a lot smaller and that her nose is a lot slimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And there are several other differences too. Like her face is just a lot less exaggerated. Like her eyebrows are slightly slimmer and her chin is more angular. And her eyes are a little bit more squinty in
Yeah.
the golden ratio face. Did I find all the differences between the two photos?
Yeah, you did. You did. When I first saw this image, I was like, she kind of looks like Vanessa Hutchinson. Not Hutchinson. I was mixing Vanessa Hudgens.
Got married to Josh Hutcherson. Now she's Vanessa Hutcherson.
I wish. Apparently, Zac Efron followed Vanessa on Instagram. So maybe they're back together.
Huh.
Didn't you know that?
Wasn't she dating? Is she not dating Austin Butler? Is that
Joanna,
over?
they haven't been dating for years.
He already said I would show my ignorance.
Anyway.
They could have done Elvis and Priscilla.
They should have, but they didn't because they were not together. He was going through something, a crisis
I'm sorry.
of self.
I had no idea about that.
Oh my God. Okay, so real versus ideal. We have Miss Kim K and then Miss Velociraptor Kim K. So, of the celebrities that I have found via Google who seem to be closest to the golden ratio, of course, Miss Bella Hadid herself has managed to look like she has hit the most golden ratio-ness. With a score of 94%, according to some random magazine. I'll find the name of it later. In this image, we have all of her facial features ranked or given, percentage points based on if they match the golden ratio. Her lowest score is in her brow area with an 88% perfect. Then her eyebrow is 89% perfect. And then we have the nose, 93, the lips, 94, face shape, 95, forehead, 97, eyes, 98. Of like the celebrities that I think both of us and our listeners will know, this is the current it girl who looks like she has the most golden ratio face. And it's also interesting because she has definitely had work done too. But her face does not look like Instagram face.
Yeah. Can you imagine seeing in a magazine a percentage breakdown of how well, I guess it's kind of interesting because as I was saying that, I was like, how beautiful you are. And it's interesting to because maybe you would say, oh, it's like more how much you fit the mathematical number, which then people translate to beauty. I don't know. I just can't imagine seeing this if I were Bella.
I mean, if I were Bella Hadid, I would be like, I'm so pretty and everyone thinks I'm so pretty. And then I'd get a 94, not a 100%. It ain't right. It ain't right.
Yeah.
It ain't Christian. Anyway, so Bella seems to be the closest to this number. And in my opinion, it seems like there's a lot of face and not as much like facial features. Joanna was saying that Kim K has more exaggerated features, just in her regular picture. And then once the golden ratio was applied, all of her facial features seem to shrink and elongate, or shrink, narrow, and elongate, which then makes like the face part of her face, like the skin, the cheek area, the under the eye, the above the lip, and between the nose and the mouth, that widens. Bella Hadid has a very long face. And so I don't know how to say it other than she has a lot more face and fewer facial features that are popping out, Oh, and then I also wanted to show Joanna just, this picture of Miss Mona Lisa herself with the little Fibonacci guy and it.
So this is what I was talking about with the rectangles, when they put the rectangles on it.
Yeah, so there's the big rectangle with the swirl inside, and then more rectangles inside of the swirl. And the Mona Lisa has the smaller section of that Fibonacci number ratio swirly situation on her face, and then it like pans out to the rest of the painting. And so she's framed in this way that reflects the golden ratio. So she's gorge, I guess.
Bella Hadid, Mona Lisa, who?
They look the same. They kind of do look the same.
They actually do.
Yeah, they have a lot of like space between, like space underneath the brow, like space of the brow bone is very like kind of fleshy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's the thing that sticks out the most to me. So as I was looking at the golden ratio faces and the Instagram faces, I see that Instagram face is more about the features than it is about the space of the face. And the golden ratio is more about the space. So I was reading on just the like Adobe website, which will have nice blog posts about how to frame things, whatever. There's a piece about the golden ratio, and this is a quote from it. The golden ratio is all about blank space and its relation to the pay attention space. There's only so much that people can take in visually. This is a guiding principle to help you understand the limits of human attention so you can create something that is aesthetically pleasing. And that's in reference to, creating art, not necessarily your face. But the idea that the golden ratio is a way to understand the limits of human attention. If I follow that logic, Instagram face pushes us beyond the limits of human attention. It is another way that we are getting bombarded with sensory detail. Everything is exaggerated. The eyes, the brows, the cheekbones, the jawline, the lips. Even though the nose is slim, it's very prominent. It's narrow, and Francesca Farrago has a very intense contour happening that like is giving her a little ski slope nose in that photo. We have this like Greco-Roman idealized standard of beauty that is characterized by thinnish lips, a wide and expansive cheek area. There's that good deal of space between on the Cupid's bow. The nose is long and thin, and so is the nose of Instagram face. I also have written here that Miss Mona Lisa is a member of the 5-Head Club. The big forehead moment. Like everything is very like long and thin and narrow and beautiful according to the golden ratio, and then everything in the Instagram face is like blown out, puffy, big. It's big and like tactile almost. So, and Instagram face is in heavy quotation marks post-racial. It's like this post-racial standard of beauty that pulls prominent features from many different ethnicities. Of course, due to colonialism and to the white patriarchy, we are operating under the beauty standards, directly influenced by white society, which is directly influenced from, Greco-Roman society. So I didn't like do research on this particular thing, but I think we all know, maybe Joanna has not heard this because she feels like she might be outed for not knowing a bunch of stuff in this episode, but like tiny waists, tiny butts, tiny straight figures were very in the 90s and the early 2000s. You love Britney Spears, so like tiny butts.
I mean, of course I know that, Christina.
Okay, I don't know. Anyway,
I'm
and
talking
then
the
like,
butt trends.
okay, Joanna obviously knows about butts. Sorry. And then J-Lo comes onto the scene, then Beyonce, and now our beauty standards are become like an amalgamation of many different racialized features in the face and the body. People are getting their faces and entire bodies surgically altered to achieve this quotation mark racial ambiguity. And, you know, in this season, we are going to talk a lot about identity on this podcast. We've talked about tools that we have to help us better understand ourselves, like the Apple Watch, the choices we make to express ourselves, like Dakota Johnson's Green Kitchen. And this is about identity and beauty. And I'm going to talk specifically about my journey with the Kibbe body typing. And I think that the Kibbe body typing is certainly informed by these, you know, ratio ideas of beauty. And so I wanted to talk about those because the Kibbe body typing is completely based on harmonizing your ratios with your clothing. So when I had TikTok on my phone, I kept getting served the Kibbe body type content on TikTok. And I think there's a number of reasons why I was getting this. And I think it's because I mean, it knows I'm like a young woman, and I also tend to watch a lot of like outfit and makeup videos. And the way that they get you into the Kibbe videos is to be like, this is how you dress based on your Kibbe body type.
Mm-hmm.
So now would be a great time for Joanna to say what she knows about Kibbe.
Yeah. So what I know about Kibbe is this is a classic video I see sometimes about Kibbe. Is like I'll see a woman like explaining why somebody is a certain Kibbe body type. So let's just say like Jennifer Aniston. Right. And so we can conjure an image of Jennifer Aniston in our heads, and the person is like, oh, Jen is naturally this type because of the way the flesh sits on the bones. Like, can't you see that? Can't you see how, you know, she's a rectangle shape or whatever? Can't you see that? And it's one of those things that like this person is explaining things that I don't understand. One, what they're saying, and two, like, then they'll be like, and then this person contrasts, like Ana de Armas, like, can't you see how this is a completely different body type because of the way the flesh sits on these bones? And I'm like, I do not see a difference. Like, it's one of those things that, and I think this is the other thing that I've heard about Kibbe body types is that at the end of the day, the only people who have been confirmed in their Kibbe body type are the ones that Kibbe identified themselves. So it's sort of like everything else is just a guess based on what this person Kibbe said. But yeah, that's what that's the Kibbe's alive.
Yeah.
Alive and well.
Yeah, his name is David Kibbe, and he wrote David Kibbe's Metamorphosis, Discover Your Image and Identity, and Dazzle as Only You Can. And it was written, I believe, in the 80s, and it's all about like women's bodies, of course, and typing them, like putting them into types. So as Joanna said, the language surrounding this is strange. And people say things like the way the flesh sits on the bone, or this person's square, this person is soft and round. And I think depending on, I don't know, like your interest in visual arts, you are more or less inclined to like make those distinctions, or like maybe some people naturally like see them more intently than other people, whatever. I think that like between the extremes of people on this spectrum, like the yang and the yin, which I'll get to, that's like pretty clear who like to see like who has a more straight body, who has a more curvy body. But Other than that, once you get into the weeds of this shit, it's like, I don't fucking know. So basically, Kibbe body types, there are 13 in total, but there are 5 big groups and then a bunch of possibilities between the groups. And it's a spectrum from yang on one end, which is like kind of is coded masculine essentially, and it's like angular and sharp. And then the yin, which is more coded to be feminine and considered soft and round. So on one end, we have someone like Natalie Portman. On the the yang end, we have someone like Natalie Portman, who's really boxy and long and lanky, and maybe you don't have to be tall. It also has to be height. It's confusing. Anyway, someone who's really sharp looking. And then we have like Marilyn Monroe, who has always been this like sex symbol of being like a voluptuous woman or whatever. It's kind of like taking your Myers-Briggs or like taking your Enneagram, except instead of coming to conclusions based on your personality and like the decisions you make, you do it by taking a photo of yourself and analyzing the proportions of your body to a scrutinizing degree.
Interesting. And sorry.
Listener, don't.
So have you done it?
Yeah, I did it.
Okay.
And I'm going to say this right now. I could lie and say I did it for research for the podcast. I did it out of being mentally ill, everyone. And no, that's okay.
I put my face through, like, do I have a beautiful face? Or remember I feel like I did this on the pod in the first season, that AI face analyzer, remember, that said how beautiful you are?
Yeah, and it said you are 100,000% beautiful.
I mean, what else would it have said? It would have been broken if it didn't. But yeah, just suffice it to say, I have also done weird things, such as give my personal image to a website to tell me a number that is to inform something about me. So
right. So I've definitely done that with my face. Thank God there's no website that asks you to upload an image of your body. What the test is like you take a picture of yourself and you look at it. It's not like it makes a decision for you and then you answer all these questions. It's like sitting down to take the Myers-Briggs and then you have to fucking write down all the answers and stuff. So as someone who is mentally ill, and here's my story. So I was getting all this content about, the Kibbe body typing. And I have in the past like year and a half finally started to be medicated for like anxiety and depression. Just a little bit, just a tad, because I came to a breaking point that we don't have to get into, but essentially now I'm medicated for that. And what happened when I became medicated for this thing is that I gained a lot of weight, and that's fine. And we know this from BoJack Horseman that sometimes people on antidepressants gain weight.
Bodies change.
And I learned that I was doing this thing called body checking. And I learned that I was doing this thing called body checking all my life, but I didn't know what it was. And it didn't get so like, it didn't make me so confused until my body went through this like pretty fast change that I had experienced one time before when I gained a lot of weight immediately in college, which Joanna was around for. And we blame it on this stupid yogurt that I was eating every day in the calf.
There were just troughs of yogurt in college.
Yeah, because it's disgusting. That is the thing that I was eating. It's not like I was eating like delicious fresh baked cookies every day. It was like I was used to.
Also, it simply wasn't just the yogurt.
No, it was definitely alcohol. Like, and not all of this is to say that like gaining weight is like a normal part of life, but like It's really hilarious that that like for me, I can pretty much trace that moment to like this stupid yogurt that I was eating like every day at the calf that was like just had no nutritional value at all. But more, it's a joke. Anyway, all of this is to say that I'm mentally
Don't
ill.
eat yogurt.
And don't eat, yeah. And so, and I also know that based on how I've always felt about like certain things about my body, like no, at any weight that I've ever been, I've always been struggling to like the same features on my body, no matter what weight I am. Like it's still that specific thing, and it's either way, I don't really like the thing. I struggle to like the thing. And those are not things that I'm going to name because I think that that's too personal, and I think that it's not cool if like I'm describing something that someone else has. So I'm not
I'll
gonna say
name
it.
one. Can I name one for me that I think is funny that you
Yeah.
oh, okay. So I always have been really insecure about the size of my back.
What?
Like, okay, you'll get to it, Christina, where you come in because you helped me overcome this. I don't know why, but I always was like, I have a huge back. Like, it's just simply the largest back anyone has ever seen. And
Wait, I feel like I remember this.
yes, okay, so if you know me, you know I have one sweatshirt and it has a big paw print on the back. So I used to wear this sweatshirt in middle school, and there's a photo taken of me in the sweatshirt. And I saw the photo and I was like, holy cow. Look at that girl with a huge ass paw print on her back, on her huge ass back. Like, that is the hugest ass back I've ever seen. And I never wore that sweatshirt ever again. So I was like, it makes my back look so big. I have a large back, whatever. Several years later, and this was I was in middle school, several years later, Christina and I were looking at those photos. I don't remember why. They must have been on Facebook. But we were looking at the photos, or I like described, I had reached into my memory and I described this to Christina and I said, like, yeah, I've always been insecure about my back. I started wearing that sweatshirt again. And I was like, yeah, I haven't worn this in forever because I hated the way the giant paw print looked on my back. And then I looked at the photo again and I was like, what was I thinking? Like, my back is a normal size, not the largest back I've ever seen. It looked very normal in that photo. The paw print looked cute. But yeah, that's one for me that and I still have like parts, like, I don't know why. My back is just something that like I don't feel the best about, but that's one that like after saying it out loud and then like looking at it, and then you were also like, what are you talking about? This is a very normal photo and you have a very normal back. I've started to come around.
I think that we were talking, first of all, everyone, it's an oversized sweatshirt. I think it's because I was saying, like, oh my God, the worst picture that I think we were talking about, like, the worst pictures that have ever been taken of us. And I was like, look at this picture my mom took of me in my crew uni, which is an unflattering outfit. And I'm like carrying a boat and like not alone, not by myself. And my mouth is like hanging open. Like it's not a good picture.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so I do remember that. And you wear that sweatshirt all the time. It's a good quality sweatshirt.
Well, it's coming apart now. I wear it too much. I want it to be fixed. Like I've actually really, this is like my true struggle now is like, I'm really scared about what's going to happen in the sweatshirt. I'd actually rather not talk about it.
Okay, Joanna's gonna start crying. No matter like what weight I am or anything, there are like the same parts of my body that I don't love.
Can I just say also, I feel like I haven't been doing a good job of saying this, but I want to say also, there's nothing wrong with having a big back. There's
Yeah.
nothing, I feel like I haven't been clear about that. There's nothing wrong with that. I love everybody. I love all sizes. But the internal dialogue is there for me, and I would like to acknowledge it. That's it.
Thank you. I think that's important to say. And I think that as we talk about bodies in this particular episode, there are let's be clear, like there are so many different kinds of bodies. There is beauty in all bodies, and all bodies are beautiful. And we, myself and Joanna, and likely you, are operating under this scrutiny the patriarchal, beauty standards, like things that have been ingrained into us, and that it takes so much self-work to get out of. And in my particular spiral of not being able to see past these things, I was taken into the Kibbe body typing. And I think that like there is a way to engage with the Kibbe body typing in a semi-healthy way, in like a very strategic and visual way that doesn't have to do with like self-worth or self-doubt and stuff. That's not my experience, and I think that it's a difficult thing to achieve. I think that you have to be you have to be a person with a really privileged, like in a good way, upbringing about like bodies that, I think a lot of people didn't have, right? So I'm like looking at all these fucking videos and I'm like, what am I? Like, what am I? And I wonder this, of course, because I want to know more about myself. And I will say that the language in a lot of these is not like one body type is better than the other. It's really not. And that's a great thing about this weird cult, is that it really is more about like understanding that this is what they say about it, like understanding what you look like and then making decisions about how you put clothes on your body based on those proportions that you recognize in these body types. And so many of them are really, really close to each other. So there's the dramatic and then natural, classic, gamine, and romantic. And that dramatic is on the super like sharp side, and then romantic is on the super round side, and classic is like straight in the middle. And then in between those, there are a bunch of different ones, right? So I was like, it's 2 a.m. What else should I do other than take a picture of myself in front of the mirror and then zoom in on it while I answer these questions about it, right? And not to brag, but I actually was correct in my guess. But that doesn't mean that I answered the questions correctly, right? Like, it just means that I am looking at my body and deciding that I'm a soft gamine, which I don't know if it is true. But I'm going to use this body type as an example because it's the one that I got in my quiz. They have the soft gamines will have the following characteristics. Also, this is like skewing towards romantic soft. Soft gamines are the combination of yin/yang with a dash of extra yin, which is the feminine. They have very rounded body shapes and features on a delicately angular frame. Their essence, which we will dive into more later, is playful, high-spirited, and full of charisma. So they add these strange like personality types to the Kibbe body types. Remember, this is a holistic view, so don't get too hung up on any one trait not matching up. And that's exactly what all the forums do, is they get very hung up on all of the traits not matching up. A soft gamine is typically under 5'5" and is usually petite in frame. Okay, here's where we get the weird language. Body tends towards fleshiness with a soft, curvy shape. Curved bust line and hips with some natural definition at waist. Can have fleshy arms and legs and can have soft/fleshy hip and thigh area. Delicate with a small and slightly angular, and sometimes like these, that's so specific and yet they're saying nothing. Delicate and small with a slightly angular and sometimes slightly broad look. Can have angular edges, especially in the shoulder area. That's what tripped me off to being soft gamine, because everyone in the soft gamine thing has the same, like, I'm like, Joanna, look at my shoulder, like shoulder bump thing that I've always had. Small hands and feet. Can have delicately broad facial features, including their nose, cheekbones, and jawline. So all of these things, what do they mean?
I would say you're a delicate broad.
I'm a delicate broad. Mm-hmm. Soft gamine will not be tall. It have an extremely straight body type. have moderate or symmetrical body type, bone structure, or facial features. That's very true. I don't have symmetrical any of that. And that, is fine. Oh, and then it will tell you how you gain weight, like where the weight falls on your body more and stuff. Blah, blah, blah. It gets really detailed. So I'm like going through this stupid fucking quiz, right? Like zooming in on all my body parts, like trying to compare it to the little drawings that they have. And then I also noticed that they have like, images of celebrities. And then I'm doing this. And I'm like, all right, wait a second. Every bitch in this quiz is white. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hold on. Let me go back to TikTok. I go back to TikTok. Every Kibbe body type video is from a white girl. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh God. Oh no. I've been sucked in to my people. They have created something very bad for me. And it was just like, for me, it wasn't a way to like know more about how to dress myself. I know how to dress myself and I like dressing myself. It was a way for me to use that as an excuse to like spend an hour scrutinizing my body and trying to fit it into some kind of box in order to have a better understanding of how to look or feel more beautiful. And the idea that beauty is something that we have to feel, I think is kind of damaging, right? Like we don't have to have this, like, I don't know. I'm not like anti-body positivity, because like who would be anti-body positivity? But I'm not like so excited by that idea. Like I think that it's okay if we just have bodies and use them. And I think that I'm in a particularly complicated mindset of like, I love clothes and I love makeup and I love these things because I find them to be artful and ways to express myself. They are also detrimentally linked to these beauty standards that damage me, that make me spend a lot of time hoping that my knees, here's my one thing I'll give you guys, that my knees will look different. Who the fuck is looking at my knees? Okay. And then I start looking at the celebrities who have the same knees as me. And I'm like, but why do those knees look so normal on that celebrity? Rihanna and I have the same knees. And I don't know. It's just like this terrible form of like self-scrutiny. Anyway, so I was like, oh my God, if this is damaging to me, like a thin white woman, the exact person that this whole fucking system has been created for, what does this do to people whose this system was never intended for them? And I can't answer that question because I don't have that lived experience. But David Kibbe maintains that the Kibbe body typing is a way to harmonize your proportions with how you dress yourself. And I think that if that is where this begins and ends, like that's fine. I think that if people have, I don't know, like if people want to start dressing with their proportions more in mind, I think that's a fine goal. And like if this is something that can, help you do that because either like you don't like clothing or you don't know about it or whatever, like I don't think it's pathological. Like I don't think Kibbe body typing is inherently a bad thing. I think it's fine if you want to somehow shorten or lengthen or widen or narrow your frame, because there are ways to visually do that with certain silhouettes. But it is very hard and almost impossible to divorce that from the history of body standards. It's unlikely that someone is going to want to widen their frame. It's unlikely that someone's going to want to shorten their frame. People are mostly trying to narrow and lengthen their frame because of these body standards. Because I have short legs, of course, my desire is to lengthen them. And that desire comes from wanting to look more model-esque, to look longer and therefore thinner in terms of proportion. So again, like it is about harmonizing proportions, but those proportions are based on harmful, beauty standards. The yang features, which are more coded masculine, like prominent muscles, wide noses and almond-shaped or monolid eyes put women of color into, a coded masculine box in the Kibbe body typing system. And it's extremely difficult to find ways to incorporate women of color into this system that was not built for them. Although there are many Facebook groups and many Reddit threads that do try to do this, because it does have a cult following with a wide variety of people in it. And most of the people who are like confirmed Kibbe body types are white. I think he has like selected a few celebrities who are not white who fit into the framework, but it's mostly people who are part of this cult following who are like trying to fit themselves or other women of color into the system. And it becomes this cultish following of people scrutinizing their bodies and other people in the forum's bodies to a degree that I personally like can't psychically handle. It's too much for me. I also like work in a clothing store where I am surrounded obviously by clothing all day, and it's mostly a women's clothing store, and I love being there. I like looking at clothes for, the craft aspect of clothing. I like seeing what's in trend. I think it represents a lot of like where the world is at, all of that kind of thing. It also means that I'm next to people talking shit about themselves all day, and it's hard to hear. And there's nothing I can do about that. But like every day that I'm in the women's clothing store where I work, like I am hearing someone say to someone else, I can't wear that because of this thing that is how my body looks, or that would look so much better on you, or even like, I don't know, or just like friends saying something that is coming from a good place. Like they won't say that doesn't fit you, but they are, it's just, it's terrible. And like, clearly people are trying to do their best, and it's very unlikely that people are like saying something shitty about the person that they're shopping with, their body, but they're almost always saying something shitty about their own bodies.
Yeah. Well, I guess one thing, yeah, because when you were first describing the body types, you said like one thing that's good about the community is that, none of the types are inherently bad, right? And I sort of like feel that like one of the things, not that I'm more familiar with it, right? But more people, even if they haven't heard of the body types, might have heard of like describing pear body or apple body, like bodies as fruits, or like the rectangle. I don't think circle is one, but shapes.
Apple.
Right. So I think all those like ways of typing are that in the same way that they're not saying any type is inherently bad. But then, like exactly what you said, when they give suggestions for how to dress yourself, the suggestions are all to, play to those standards of beauty. So the one that I think about, like, I think about like women who have been told to wear dresses, like to accentuate their waist, or like an empire waist dress, or like, essentially like women being told to wear dresses to hide their body, to give them like this silhouette effect of, having just simply a different body than they have, which I think is, yeah, exactly like you said, very strange, but obviously to promote some kind of beauty standard that has been thrust upon us. But yeah, I would just say that I think it resonates like throughout, like outside of the Kibbe system, right? I think pretty much anyone who has looked in a magazine or like been given or thought about how to dress my body for my body type is given suggestions that sort of all lead to this road of like, here's the ideal silhouette, and this is what you do to compensate for your less than desirable features, or whatever.
Right.
However they're phrasing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. It's like what you are and how you look isn't bad, but here's how you can alter it to better fit what we think is good. yeah, the empire waist dresses, the like flare pants, if you're someone who has like bigger, a huge ass, um, people like wear flare pants to like, you know, even it out or whatever. And it's almost like what you're saying, like wearing these things to hide the body that you have, or to almost like negate that you have one sometimes, like hiding
Mhm.
certain parts of yourself and then like accentuating others. Um, there's no way to look at those like choices for proportion without looking at why we value some proportions over others. Um,
Yeah. I think one other thing too that sort of I try to think about sort of recently to kind of interrogate these standards, and this isn't like a fully formed thought, so it's not going to make complete sense. So I think, and you said this too, like there's a lot of a goal to like balance yourself out, right? Like achieves like some kind of proportionality. But really what I think I'm drawn to in people and in myself is contrast and like features that do stand out and things that look weird and or askew, right? Like I think that's interesting. And not that models are going against any kind of beauty standard, right? But like often models like have gap teeth or they have like strange features that are beautiful, because there are other parts of them that are beautiful and they fit some other standard, right? But like I think that there's a standard that is being sold to the masses that is different than like what people actually find attractive and beautiful, which I think is just more broad and is a lot of different things. So that's one thing that I've kind of recently sometimes tried to think about for myself of like, I actually like that this part of my face is out of proportion or that like this looks really big. I think that's kind of cool looking in this outfit or like kind of trying to play with that more to like not achieve that balance, but achieve something that looks kind of strange, but draws the eye in that way.
mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that like seems to be Kibbe's ethos is that like this is a way to like fully play with proportion, and like, and it kind of, what you said is like kind of reminiscent of that, but it's not like align, it's you're not trying to align with like the the standards of beauty to that set those proportions, but rather like you're more interested in finding a more like a different kind of visual interest in your silhouette.
Hmm.
And I have always really enjoyed dressing myself. Like when I have the times that I haven't enjoyed dressing myself were because I just was down in the dumps and I couldn't get it together to even care about that, even though it is something that like I am drawn to, I care about it. And that's not true for everyone, and that's fine. But we all need to wear clothes. So you make it's like that Devil Wears Prada thing of like, just because you think you didn't choose cerulean, someone chose cerulean for you. And like, it's fine to not care about clothes, but I do. And there are some pieces of clothing that I own and that I love, but I don't necessarily love on me.
Hmm.
But that I do think represent my personal style. And when I wear them, it's because I care more about that than I do about, tricking someone's eye into seeing my proportions a little bit differently.
Hmm.
And the truth is that, as you said, like when I see those like things that are askew, I am like, oh, that's like great that this
Right.
person that I wouldn't expect to be wearing this silhouette has decided today that they will wear that silhouette. Like it feels refreshing and always new somehow, and like encouraging too. And I think that like this topic, I was not sure how to approach it. And like bodies are really difficult things and they're really like hard things to talk about. And we all like come to our bodies with different understandings about like what we put in them and what we put on them and how we want them to look and what they actually look like. And also just like a different language for bodies that vary across, experience. So in this episode, I really just wanted to talk about like my experience with the Kibbe body typing, my experience with weight fluctuation, and how that like just has always confused me, even though, and like it confused me in that like it gives me a kind of dissonance in my head about like what do I look like, which I guess you could call body dysmorphia, if you want to get into it. But how ultimately, like, no matter what my weight is, because it is simply just a number. I have always had the same insecurities about my body, like across time. I can look at photos of myself from so long ago and be like, oh my God, I looked so good. Why did I think I looked so not good? And then from a year ago, and then from like 6 months ago, and yet always in the present, I'm like, damn, I look terrible in this picture. And it's something that I really have to remind myself to stop doing, and it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to fix it, and I don't know if there ever will be a fixing it. And that's not really what the point of this episode is anyway, but the point is just like beauty's really complicated. When beauty is online, it's even more complicated. We started out with this, very elongated Greco-Roman facial beauty standard, and now we're in this super like puffy and in your face facial features. And we also can't like trust that the images we are seeing of people reflect what they actually look like either. So many influencers play with the vertical ratio, like they pull their photos down to make their legs look longer, which once you discover that your phone can do these things, it's such a slippery slope, because you want to start manipulating your online self to look like that. And I understand why, and this is just going on a tangent, but like I understand why influencers would be extra wanting to do stuff like that, because their monetary value is based on it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything that I said in this episode that you think was shitty and you have the bandwidth to tell me that, please do.
Mm-hmm.
And
or if you have simply like a very or even slightly different perspective, I would be interested to hear about it too. And if you wanted to share it, all the better. But if you just wanted to tell us, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christina. I'll say thank you from me and from the audience for really sharing your selfie with us today. Opening your heart.
Got really personal, guys. I don't like my knees. Feel free to message me and say, I love your knees. Actually, don't. Please don't address it.
You can tell me every time that you've looked at my back and thought, damn, that's a nice ass back.
Nice ass back.
Yeah, and
I thought you were
please
going to say that thing about how you wish your hands were bigger for basketball.
Oh, well, that too, obviously.
Oh.
I am 7 feet tall, but yeah, my hands just were never quite the same proportion to my height, which is kind of strange.
Yeah.
And I made it work out there on the court.
Joanna cannot palm a b-ball, only a pickleball.
So small.
She can't wrap her hand all the way around. She can just palm it.
Darn.
That's all I got. No, but actually, if I said something like, Christina, that was like shitty. This is for anything that I say on the podcast, and you're like, someone should tell her that was actually a bad thing to say. I feel like we have a chill enough audience situation where I'm ready to receive that. So
yeah, I would also like, and I feel like I try to say this, or at least I'm thinking in my head, like, I do not feel an authority on things. And like, I hope the listener knows that we don't claim to be an authority on things just because we're talking about them on a podcast. But I know when I listen to podcasts, that's what it feels like. But I think we both are in it to learn and be wrong and be told things that were different than what we originally thought. We are here for that.
We love open discussion and learning. That's what this podcast is really structured around.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say the only thing I am an authority on is my lived experience and the class I teach, because I have been challenged a lot recently by my students, and this is just me being salty. And Joanna, once she's a librarian, then you'll be
then I'll be an authority on everything. Don't get it twisted.
Then you can't say shit to us. So you better get it in fucking now.
Yeah.
Okay?
TikTok.
And everyone tell Joanna to move to Richmond. That's all we have. That's all we have for the day.
Have a great rest of your week.
I hope everyone has a golden ratio week. A Fibonacci week.
I know. I was going to say just mumble the Fibonacci numbers.
As the outro?
No, throughout the week. The listener. and good things will come.
Is there a lottery happening? Use the Fibonacci numbers as your lottery ticket numbers.
I don't feel like that's smart. I feel like a lot of people do that, and then you have to share the jackpot with them.
Okay, use these numbers instead. We're going to guess the lottery numbers as our outro. I'll say one, then you say one. Well, let's just do
How
5
many we
numbers.
Huh? 5, 6, 5 numbers, 6 numbers for the...
I don't know. Let's just do 5. You guys can come up with the last one.
Okay. 5.
1.
11.
13.
I get to pick a third number?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. 23. MJ. The spirit compelled me. Michael Jordan.
I loved him in Thriller.
I loved him in Space Jam.
Oh my god, that was LeBron.